Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to the Radio Toons podcast. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
There's a lot of things that happened this week, but I wanted to highlight one special boy.
What's that, Steve?
One special boy, special to our hearts.
Special man.
Yeah.
Special man.
I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I saw it on IGN. It's probably everywhere else, too.
I'm sure it is.
If you Google Benedict Cumberbatch right now, it's one of the top stories. So apparently he was in a cab.
Right.
An Uber, I think, right?
Something to that effect, yeah.
And there was a guy delivering food somewhere, and this guy gets mugged.
By 4 individuals.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch heroically steps out of the Uber, goes over there, and beats their asses.
I think the article said fought him off. Steve.
Okay, wait. The guy that got beaten up or whatever said that he saw the robbers' faces like recognize him, and then they took off. So I don't know if it was like I'd like to believe that they were just like, oh my god, it's Sherlock.
I like to believe they thought it was, oh my gosh, it's Dr. Strange. And they ran off.
But more than likely it was just like he's got money. He's gonna fucking he's gonna legally rape us or something. This is a
thing now.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna recognize us if we're in with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, but apparently
he was fighting off 4 dudes.
Yeah, he heroically fought off 4 dudes and saved this man.
Yeah.
I guess this happened late last year, but the story just broke recently because it was like maybe it was something where he was just like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, or if somebody saw it, whatever. But I just want to like, how cool is that? Like this guy's Sherlock Holmes in real life. How fucking badass is that?
I remember reading the article and it said like it was a couple of blocks from Baker Street.
Yeah, they said from the fictional, like where they shot the show. I guess.
Exactly, from the fictional home of Sherlock Holmes. I thought that was very interesting. They didn't have to say that, but I know, they
tried the same country as Baker Street. Whatever.
So Benedict Cumberbatch being a real hero at some point. Yeah. I mean, he makes me sad that I'm not that. Because he's just like, he's an actor. He's a really nice guy from what I understand. He's a really funny dude as well. And he's a real life hero. Yeah. Like, could he get any better?
Well, he's rich.
And he's rich. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part too.
Yeah. But I mean, something else that's recently swept the news. If it hasn't swept your Twitter feed and your Facebook feed.
Good Lord.
It will.
Yeah.
By the time you hear this podcast. Wreck-It Ralph had like this new trailer.
Yeah.
Right? So they're making a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
That's right, yeah. And they show all the Disney princesses like in CG. Yeah. And they look all nice and pretty. And fuck, like I've seen this image so many times on my Twitter feed today. It's just everyone's going nuts over the fact that they're
completely and utterly nuts.
Everyone is like, oh, well, they're gonna make movies again with all of them in 3D and all this shit.
Like I have a Tumblr set up with all these like different artists that I like because it's good to scroll through it and see like all these different styles.
Sure.
The entire Tumblrs, all the Tumblrs that have like artists in them were just like, look at the princesses. Yeah. So like, I kid you not, I had to scroll I think for at least a minute to get to actual content. Because everybody was just like, they took the still and then they cropped out each princess's face. Yeah. And were like comparing it to other shots. And then I was just like, oh, this is...
Yeah, look, I get it. The first movie was also very like...
referencey.
Yeah, like, hey, look at this. Like, this movie's not going to stand on its own 2 feet because, we're selling you stuff. Mm-hmm. But let me just say real fast, I love Wreck-It Ralph. The first movie... I really thought I was going to hate it because, one, it was like, oh, you're video games, right? And everybody was nudging me with their elbows like, hey,
look, there's Sonic.
Yeah, you're going to love that movie,
Sonic
right?
And Mario.
And I was like rolling my eyes like, fucking God, why, right? And and also Sarah Silverman. I'm not very fond of Sarah Silverman. But I do love John C. Reilly.
Not a huge fan of Sarah. Recently, I've started to like her. But yeah, you're right. John C. Reilly all the way. Dr. Steve Brule.
So... I finally saw the movie, eventually, and it's one of those things where like I had like this prejudice towards it, like this animosity that wasn't really justified, you know. And once I saw the movie, I was like, "Fuck!" Like it just turned me around completely. Like I love the movie so much because it's like it wasn't really just like a cash grab. It's actually a movie that has like a lot of heart, and especially Sarah Silverman, and I'm like, I told you before, like, I don't like her in anything. This, in my opinion, is like her defining role. She plays a bratty little snot-nosed brat like so fucking well. Like that is
her voice. Her voice fits that character very, very well.
Even like the way, like, if you've seen Sarah talk before, she has kind of like a. I'm not even trying to be mean, but she has kind of like a monkey-ish face where she puts her lips out. You know, when she talks. They put that into Vanellope. Yeah. You can tell, like, her, like, certain faces that Sarah makes are like inspirations for her animation, and you can kind of tell that too with Jack McBrayer, the guy that does Fix It Felix. You could you could totally tell there was like instances where they were just like, oh, let's just use this face that Jack
for
makes.
Sure, because it's like Jane Lynch, Jack McBrayer. You said,
yeah,
all these people, they kind of put their faces into it.
Yeah.
Because you could totally tell it's them.
Yeah.
But, like, what I was going to say about Sarah Silverman's voice is that the raspiness and the way that her voice is just, like, an octave higher than most people, that's what makes it for me. Because it's almost like this old-school Punky Brewster feeling to this character. And it fits it very well because she's a glitch.
Yeah.
And she's kind of, like, on the outskirts. It just makes sense for the character.
It's just a really great character overall. Like, I even love Vanellope's design.
Yeah,
she has one of by far one of my favorite designs for like a Disney character. Not to mention the way like her and Ralph, like color wise, like they complement each other. They look good together.
Well, they're complementary.
Yeah, it's just there's so much in that movie that I love. Also Sugar Rush, the land of Sugar Rush.
I hate that place. I hate that place because it feels so sticky. The whole place just feels like anywhere you step, it's like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But you mentioned that, you know, like she's a great Disney. I was like, oh, she's a Disney princess in my head. That kind of leads back to the trailer and what we were talking about earlier. Because let me give my take on it, right?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So Ralph breaks the internet. They go to the internet, blah blah blah. It's because like all the machines get hooked up to the internet or whatever, something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so the first thing I was gonna say, okay, they're gonna make a lot of references. Okay, there's Twitter, there's Google, blah blah blah, but then it takes the turn where they're like, I want a place that's all full of energy and it's crazy and bananas and blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, only one result. And it was Oh My Disney, which is a real site. It's a real...
I didn't know that, actually. You told me
it was a real thing where people, like, are there to just gush about Disney stuff. And I was like, no. Because in my head, Wreck-It Ralph existed outside of Disney. Yeah, in my head.
I know what you're saying.
Because, yes, it existed in the video game world, right? But it existed there, and then Disney was somewhere else. It wasn't even part of this, you know?
Yeah.
And now it is part of it, and so Disney exists and all these other things exist. And I don't know, it felt like a cash grab, because they're like, you know what we could do to bring in everybody? Let's just include all the Disney stuff. Let's include Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar.
Yeah,
we'll include the Disney princesses,
and that's why I get it. Like the first movie too had that same kind of appeal in the trailers, and that's why I was kind of iffy on it. And especially this one too. I heard no one excited for it. Everyone hates the title of the movie. All of a sudden they bring out this Disney trailer. Everyone's on board. You know, like
because here's the difference though. In the first one, it was like, look at all the video game references, right? Fine, I accept that. This one is like, look at all the Disney princesses that you can buy at our Disney store. It's more of a like direct line to.
It's just self promotion.
It's self promotion to something you can actually buy. Because like we saw the last one, there was Street Fighter and Sonic and blah blah blah. It's not like they were like, look, go buy their stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But this was literally like, look at all the stuff you can buy at Disneyland.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just don't have the budget to make all those licensed references anymore, or
excuse me, they have just dumb amounts of money coming in from Marvel.
Yeah,
they have Star Wars, sure. And they have like they're no shortage of money.
But budgets for like certain movies aren't always the same. I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to defend it. Like I said, the first movie had that same appeal, so this one does too. And I want it to be good. I mean, I understand that's the nature of sequels, though. Sometimes they'll shit all over this nice little story that could have been its own thing. and they try to extend it, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, okay, so this trailer, as opposed to the first trailer, I still haven't seen what the conflict is.
Because I don't know what it is either. So.
Yeah, so in the first movie, the whole thing was like, I don't want to be a bad guy anymore because I'm actually a good guy. And that I was like, hey, that'll be a nice story. Even though I wasn't like all aboard on it at first either. But I was like, that'll be a fun movie because there's conflict there. This one, it's literally just, the trailer's just been about, look at all this stuff on the internet.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think when I saw that trailer where he says that, like, oh, I don't want to be the bad guy anymore, I was like, this looks fucking stupid.
But you understood the conflict, right?
No, yeah, but like I said, I completely turned around on it. So I'm just praying. I'm not a praying man, but Jesus Christ, do I want this game? I want this movie to be good.
I think it'll be good. Like, Disney's had a really good track record these last few movies with their own movies, is what I mean.
Okay.
Because for a while they were doing, like, Bolt. They were doing, like, Planes.
What are you talking about, Bolt? I like Bolt.
Yeah, you liked it, but it wasn't the best.
No, it wasn't the best, and it had a weird cast. Anytime they cast, like, real actors to play parts...
Yeah, I'm always suspect.
I always imagine their face talking, and it ruins it for me. So, like, Bolt is John Travolta.
Right.
And the girl is Miley Cyrus. So I'm supposed to believe John Travolta, this old flabby man, is, like, being hugged by Miley Cyrus and being, like, it's just so weird and gross to me.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But they've been doing much better.
Well, they did The Good Dinosaur. And The Good Dinosaur kind of flew under the radar. Well, nobody watched it.
Was that Disney or was that Pixar? I thought that was Pixar.
The same shit, dude.
Well, it actually does matter because Disney sometimes does things on their own.
Uh-huh.
And then there's
Big
the Pixar
Hero
movies.
6.
Right. I think that was Pixar.
Big Hero 6 was just Disney.
Was just Disney? Well, there's another good one for them. I love that movie.
I don't really... that movie was... It's... I'll say this about Big Hero 6, since we're on the subject of Disney movies. When Big Hero 6 is on TV or something, I do tend to watch it. Yeah. Or, like, it'll catch my eye, and I do, like, sitting and watching it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put that movie on.
I've put it on several times.
I wouldn't buy a Big Hero 6 shirt or an art book or merchandise. I would just be like, whatever. It was a kind of a typical movie to me, Okay. No disrespect to the movie. It was cool when I saw it in theaters, but it's just not a real lasting appeal for me. But I will say this. You had something to say about the actual Disney princesses' faces.
Right, yeah.
How do you think... okay, because I'm like, I get it. Maybe these Disney princess designs, I want to say maybe they were rushed. Because they all had to be in this one film. Typically, like, Moana gets... if it's just a one princess movie, they get all the work. They get all this time to do that one princess. This time they had to do like 8 or 9. So
I think it's like 10.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of rushed out because I told you too. I was like, Belle's face looks kind of weird. Yeah, like she looks kind of like anorexic almost. But I don't know if maybe I'm just nitpicking. I don't know.
So I feel like they're all the same, except for one. They all seem to be a very specific height across the board.
Okay.
Except for the one from Brave, she's probably the tallest one.
Merida is probably just ripped from her movie. Like the model is probably just like we were saying that too. Is like the Frozen chicks.
They look exactly.
Elsa and Anna, yeah, they look identical to their movies. Yeah. Rapunzel looks identical.
I think what they did was they made everybody's eyes huge. They scaled the bodies down just a little bit because they all seem to be like.
They all look.
The main problem I had with that part was like, so in each of their respective movies, they're a certain age, right? Like Snow White is like 18 or 17 or something. She's really young.
I don't know how old she is.
And like Pocahontas is like full. I don't know, Belle and all them. They seem older, but here they all kind of look like they're 16.
Yeah, because they all have like big heads.
Big heads, big eyes. Yeah. It almost felt like all the Disney princesses were templicized.
Then
they just varied. Like what they did was like, okay, well, Snow White, she should have a round head, and Frozen chick should have a pointy chin, and like all they did was vary them a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Pocahontas has a jawline.
Yeah,
you can totally tell like she has a big jawline. But I know what you're saying by she in her movie she looks a little more Indian. She has smaller eyes.
Yeah, and her complexion is much darker in the movie because like one of the other characters is Moana. And I'm forgetting it's Moana and another person who have darker complexion, Jasmine. They have a considerable change.
Okay.
I
don't know if they whitewash him, if that's what you're talking about.
No, but I'm saying, like, in her movie, you have John Smith, who's, like, is a European man. And it's Pocahontas. And there's a clear difference in their skin tones. I'm not saying this is bad or blah, 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 but there was...
That's what it sounds like, Ernie. It sounds like you're making a big deal about skin
she's
color.
Pocahontas, and she should be a considerable change. There should be a considerable difference in her skin tone as opposed to the others.
Well, all I know is this. Ariel was the only one that, to me, I was like, oh, she fits that template perfectly.
Oh, of course she
like,
does.
Of course she does. Ariel looked like exactly like she should.
Yeah, the other one that I thought was weird was Aurora, because Aurora's character design in the original movie was very, like, pointy.
Yeah.
And now she's been rounded off.
I like her hair. Her hair looks super cool.
I thought Pocahontas' hair was the best one, because it was like almost like a comb over and straight. It looked really cool.
Some people were saying she looks like she's balding.
I like that look. I like the comb over, like to one side thing. I love that.
I noticed, though, that Snow White, they drew her a lot more round.
Yeah.
So her eyes looked a lot more round, and so did her face.
Yeah, she looked almost like a little chubby.
Yeah, and I was like, I wonder if that's because it was like they were trying to make it look like she did back then in the fucking 30s or 40s, whenever the fuck they drew her.
Right, and she's supposed to. I believe she's supposed to be like 16 in her movie.
Yeah, because she's if you guys don't know, I don't know how many other movies did it, but I know Snow White was mostly rotoscoped. So, like, that's what I mean by, like, they kind of gave her realistic features as in, like, chubby and not straight line.
Yeah,
like,
I could see that.
You know what I'm saying? And her eyes were, like, rounder, like a, you know. But, yeah, I don't know.
Rapunzel was probably the only one who I said that's... maybe the Frozen girls, the two girls looked almost like they were supposed to, but they seemed like a kind of a miniature version of themselves. Rapunzel was the one that was like, they did not even change that character model.
I wonder if it was Mandy Moore.
I mean, for those two lines, probably not.
You don't think so?
I mean, it's just as easy to get somebody to kind of fake the voice.
Okay.
You know, they have so many... They acquire so much talent that I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Mandy Moore sounding stand-in, and they're just like...
That would suck, because that was her role.
Well, what would you care if she just does... I mean, if it's only a few lines... I don't mind it as long as it sounds like...
The cameo has to have the voice.
So you want like special appearances by it, then you want the whole like roster of people that are in this movie.
If that's what they're gonna fucking make the movie out to be, then yeah, that's what I want.
Well,
I'm hoping that's Idina Menzel as Elsa or fucking Kristen Bell.
You think they can afford that lady again?
Dude. Yes.
All right. I don't think so.
I honestly think that like when you sign a contract at Disney, like a part of your soul gets kept in like this vault that they have.
I don't think that's the case.
And you're just like linked to it, like with this spiritual little chain.
The case, Steve.
I think it is. Anyway.
You're by yourself, man. Ugh. But aside from that, like the whole thing, like the trailer looks fun, but that's about all I can say because I don't really see a conflict. And the cash grab with all the princesses and everything. I mean, that was... if I was in charge of that marketing, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best. We're going to get so many little girls to just fall in love with this movie. It's going to do gangbusters on the first night because they want to see all their princesses all in one room.
But yeah, I don't know. There were some other jokes in there that I was kind of like whatever about. The one that I was actually like... Oh, they actually mentioned it. They actually, or what am I trying to say? Like they acknowledged it. Is the title of the movie?
Right.
At the end of the trailer, they say, "Why is it called Ralph Breaks the Internet? Shouldn't it be Ralph Wrecks the Internet?" And she's like, "Yeah, but breaks the internet is kind of a thing." And then Ralph says, like, "Yeah, but Rex sounds better. Like, why wouldn't you name it that?" And I was almost like, did they make that scene just because so many people were talking shit on the movie title? Because they were, like, a lot of people were like...
Was that the joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Because, you were talking over it.
No, I mean, I didn't get that joke.
What?
I had seen the trailer before we watched it, and I got that whole little conversation. I interpreted it as, oh, this was a marketing meeting that somebody had with the artists.
No.
Who, like, know they're like, his name is Wreck-It Ralph. Why isn't it called Ralph Wrecks the Internet? Because it would go along with it. And, like, the marketing person comes in and is like, break the internet's a buzzword. That just plays better.
Because, yeah. To me, I'm like, why would you, like, Kim Kardashian's ass is what you think of when you hear that.
Really? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don't you remember? That's what
dang it.
That's what the fucking headline was. And I was always like, why would you name the movie after that? It's just a stupid title. And in my opinion, they probably added that scene to kind of remedy that, because they were probably like, you know what, dude, we already got the fucking brand on all of this stuff. We can't change the movie title. Like, you can't.
I'm sure you can, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, they're like, let's just turn into all of it and just make fun of it.
Upon hearing the title and then even seeing the logo, I remember seeing the logo and thinking like, wow, it looks so fucking stupid. Like, you know how much I hate it when I have like a little badge, like a little number next to one of the apps on my phone. I hate looking at that. It just had like this emoji movie vibe to me, and I like I said, Wreck-It Ralph 1 was the same shit. So I'm really hoping that this movie comes out and I actually love it. Please be good.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Please be good. But another Disney movie that it's actually been on Netflix for a while, but Ernie just watched it. You watched Coco.
Yeah, me and the missus watched Coco after what has been out for a year.
It's been out for a while, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's a weird thing that happens to us, and I know it happens to you too. When people tell us what we will definitely like, for some reason that turns us off really bad.
Well, yeah, just like Wreck-It Ralph, like that's exactly how I.
They're like, dude, this is you, man. And I think it started way back in the day when, Grandma's Boy came out, and everybody was like, "That's you in the movie, right? This is what you do." I was like, "Yes, it's exactly what I do." That's because. You know, when I told people what I did back in the day, it was like, I work for a G4 TV station, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so you just sit there and play video games all day? I was like, sure. That's what I do.
Right.
So maybe that's where it started, but I was super pleasantly surprised that everybody was exactly right. That movie is fantastic.
You loved it?
I loved it.
Wow.
Because of all the attention to detail in the movie.
There was a lot of colors. There was a lot of stuff to look at.
Well, no, not even just that. Like that town that Miguel is part of. That's the main character, Miguel. The town looks like a town you would see in Mexico. Like, it looks very authentic, down to the trees. Like the tree that's in his parents' home and everything looks like a tree that we used to have when we used to have a farm. There was a tree like that. It didn't have leaves. It had like these weird sticks that would just stick down, and you would find them all over the floor.
Okay.
And then the whole thing with the grandma always being like, "Hey, you look skinny, eat," and he's like, "No thanks," and she's like, "Eat."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, gotta eat." All those little small references and everything were very spot on.
Well, that's the kind of thing that I didn't really like about the movie. Like, I mean, I get it, right? But I just like. I'm Mexican. I hear this shit all the time. So, like, I'm sure, like, a white person goes to see this movie and is like, wow, I love Mexicans now. I feel so cultured after watching that film. But, like, to me, it was almost like, yeah, like, George Lopez says all this shit. I get it. Like, at one point, the grandma, someone took off her chancla.
Yeah.
And she took off her sandal and she had it like, oh, I'm going to hit you with the sandal. That's a Mexican thing. And I kind of like...
Yeah.
I kind of looked away from the screen at that point. I was like, fucking every time? Like, always with these...
It's a running gag, dude.
Like, I don't know. Like, I get it, okay? And that's kind of what my consensus was the whole film was. I was like, I get it. Okay,
well, thankfully that stuff takes place very early on.
Not all of it, but yeah.
It totally does. What are you talking about?
There's a part where the guy's singing a song and he censors it. Because Miguel is there.
Right.
Do you remember that?
How is that a Mexican thing, though?
Because Mexicans always have to be gross. And, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like... Or like...
Is that what you took from that? Because it's just like when grown-ups or whatever, they start to sing to each other. It's like, that old joke.
Yeah, okay.
But like, okay, Here's a perfect example of how that's not exclusively a Mexican thing.
Okay.
There's always the joke in old 80s movies where it's like the parents are together and they're telling dirty jokes, and then one of them goes like, there once was a woman from Nantucket. And they're like, hey, dude, kid's present. You know?
Okay.
So it's like, you know, when you're around kids, you censor yourself.
Okay, but it's not like in Mulan they're telling some joke about some old titties or something, you know? Which was the joke in Coco, for those of you who didn't catch it. Okay, and then there's a part of the movie that's like a big part of the movie that involves tequila, you know? And I'm just like, so dirty jokes, tequila, and fucking like this is all Mexicans are to people. It just feels so like I get it. Like, there's parties every fucking weekend around here. Like, I hear this shit.
I understand, and I understand that you hate that sometimes people boil you down to certain things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't say I hate. Okay, I don't hate Mexicans. I just hate stereotypes like.
When I say Vikings, you think of they love beer, they love mead, and they like to fight.
No, that's right. That's my point. Is that like I just said, like somebody who's not Mexican, would go see this movie and say like, wow, that's great. I got to learn so much about their culture through this film. Like,
but anybody who has half a brain knows that this is all surface level stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Okay. Like, Japanese people aren't probably like, wow, Mulan was accurate.
Yeah, but every time you see anything that's represented in the when you see like a Japanese film or whatever, and it's made by Americans, they're like, ooh, sake.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody has
bonsai. Hey,
bonsai.
Whoa, hey, bonsai.
Yeah, it's
Mr.
like
Miyagi.
I know it bothers you more because it's our culture and everything, but you have to understand that it's like they're trying to take the things that people know the most about us as Mexicans and introduce us slowly to the rest, because it's not just tequila to drink.
Yeah.
You know, it's tequila to honor people. You know?
No, I get it, and the whole Day of the Dead stuff and the backstory of all that shit. I get it. I'm just saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. No. I go into this movie and I kind of roll my eyes at like every fucking joke, and then there's a joke about caca. They say there's a part where he says, "Watch out, because the birds like to shit on you" or something.
Yeah.
And when I was in the theater, all the kids were cracking up at that part, and I was like, "Poop, poop,
dude! There's poop everywhere. All right, there's tons of movies where it's like, oh, there's poop. Oh, it's gross. Oh, there's horse. Horse spit on me. Like, no, yeah. They're always. It's just I understand why you roll your eyes at it. It's just like
no. Okay, but that aside, you know, that gets a free pass. Whatever, you know.
The movie to me was really, really nice because it was set up to be. I don't know. Should we do spoilers? I don't know. It's been out for a year and a half at this point, so I think it's fine to do spoilers.
Let me just say this before you go into spoilers. The movie's pretty typical. The movie follows like the beats of a fucking Disney Pixar film to me.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I've just watched too many of them at this point. But like,
no, you're not wrong.
There's still
I can name like 3 that follow the same formula.
You know, there's still like at least like people hate Frozen, right? People are tired of Frozen. But when Frozen came out, it's like at least it was fucking different, you know? Like Moana,
somewhat.
Like Moana comes out the year after, or like whenever the fuck it came out, and people were like praising this movie, saying it's way better than Frozen. I'm like, okay, but Moana's way more cookie cutter than Frozen, right? Like,
here's the thing though, like Moana, Frozen, like Toy Story 2, they all follow this same formula. It's all the same formula.
I don't know, but okay, sure. I mean, like they still have to be a regular movie.
Of course, they have to be a regular movie, but the way that it's structured is all the same.
Okay.
Again, we're gonna go into spoilers.
No. Okay, hold on. Before you say that, I get what you're saying. Let me describe what I'm saying a little more. Is when it comes to Frozen, it's like the way they do the details are what makes it different.
Okay.
Sure, it has the same structure, but it's like, okay, she doesn't. The love of her life isn't a guy. The love is between her sister and her. That's what saves the thing at the end. You know,
spoilers.
Spoilers if you haven't seen Frozen. Okay, we're going hardcore spoilers on Frozen. She meets the guy right in the beginning, and you think she's gonna fall in love with him. That doesn't happen. You know, like it breaks the mold,
the convention.
In very tiny ways, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps you surprised throughout the whole movie. And I still watch Frozen, I still love it. Because in my opinion, it has some of the best music of any Disney film. like, say what you will about Let It Go, if you've heard it a million times, it's a great fucking song. Like,
still a great song.
Like,
it has a lot to do with who sings it. It really does.
Dude, she's a great singer, and it's great that, like, finally, like, her talent is recognized, because everyone was saying for the longest time, like, oh, you gotta go see Wicked, because Idina Menzel...
You really do.
...is, like, she is fucking a great performer. Yeah. So, like, how is this not... This movie is, like, very triumphant in a lot of ways. It just kind of sucks that, like, yeah, I get it. People were tired of it, you know, and it's, like, things like that tend to happen. I get it, you know. There's no helping that. But, yeah, so I don't even know where we're getting at. Spoilers for Coco now? Like,
well, no, you were saying it was the details of which the movie was done that made the difference.
Okay, yeah, and like Coco, I feel like it doesn't really have too much in the details. It's a little more like
I think you I think you couldn't see the details because you were the parts that you hated stood out to you too much. I was blinded
by the poo-poo and the tequila and the
because so the things, again, this is a lot of spoilers. The things that Frozen, Moana, and this have in common. Is the whole, this is the way that you think things are. The character realizes, hey, maybe they won't be this way because of this person will change my life.
Yeah.
Once that person is discovered to be not that, they turn to something else, right? So they realize that even though their parents weren't right, they weren't right. The person, like, there was another right that existed outside the world.
It's because, like, it's gotten to that point where it's like, okay, like you said, okay, they worship some person or they want to meet somebody. Once they meet them, it turns out they don't have like a connection with them or something. Then in your head you say, then what are they going to do in this film?
Right.
They have to be in this film. You know, they made the fucking 3D model. What are they going to do?
Right.
So naturally it's like, oh, either he's a bad guy or, you know, like something like that is what I'm trying to say. So... we can go ahead and do spoilers for the rest of this podcast now, all right? Spoilers from here on out for Coco.
Here's the thing for Coco, right? And this is why I really connected with it. It's like family is such a strong, like, I know family is a strong theme in every culture, right? I think and what they're trying to represent here is that, like, Mexican families typically are very, like, hardworking, and when something works, it's very hard to change the way that those things have gone.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're just going against the norm. It's like you're going against your own family, and they take it super personal.
Yeah, and they do that in the movie too. It's like he says something at dinner, right? And then they all get shocked, and it's like yeah, I understand that because it is like that in Mexican families. It's like everything works. It's like, why does somebody want to change?
Why do you want to change it?
Yeah.
And then, like, and in Mexican cultures, a lot of the time, it is a patriarch where it's like the father's in charge, but a lot of the times the person who actually runs the household is the mother. So, like, I know you hate the whole chancla thing, but, like, the thing about that is more to illustrate that the mothers and the grandmothers, and they're the ones that keep the household together. So they're the ones that are held in praise. That's why I think this movie gives, like, Coco herself, like, Coco is the grandmother. Is the grand, like, great grandmother. That's kind of the story revolves around, right? And in this movie, it's like he's going against the grain because his family has banished music from their family. So they have the Riveras are shoemakers. Yeah. So that's what they do, and when he wants to do music and it's forbidden in the house, they're like, no.
Yeah.
And they smash his stuff, and they're like, come here, we forgive you, blah, blah, because we're family. Because no matter what, he is part of the family, and they always forgive him. But, when he goes against the grain and everything for his greater good and all that stuff, the same thing happens that happens in, like, Frozen. He finds out that, you know, he wants to be like this person, and when he finds out they're not who they are, like, he has to find some other way to make sense of the world. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he finds it.
Right. Well, okay, so what's his name? Ernesto?
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Ernesto de la Cruz. Once you find out this guy's evil, right? You know,
which I will say I totally saw it coming like a million miles away because again, all these movies have been like in Moana. Yeah. It's in like the island, the guy who's guarding the thing that's guarding the thing that they need. Turns out she was a good guy all the time. Okay, and then in Frozen is like she needs that guy's kiss. Oh, but it turns out he was a bad guy all the time. Like, it's whatever you think is going to happen in the very beginning or what the main character thinks is right is completely wrong.
Yeah, well, that's part of what I was saying, because it's like, in this movie, right? In Coco, he meets Hector.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so if Hector's already filling the role of like somebody who teaches him stuff, what is this guy gonna do?
Right.
What is Ernesto gonna do?
Right.
Naturally, he's gonna be the bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, what were you just saying right now? Frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Frozen is like, okay, she wants Hans. She likes Hans.
Right.
Why would they introduce Sven?
Right.
Okay, so if he's gonna be the guy now, naturally the other guy's gonna be the bad guy, kind of thing. You understand? Like,
yeah.
That wasn't the only typical thing about this movie though. It was like the way they also like put him on blast, so to speak. There's one like he's on the stage and they turn the camera to him and it's that whole like, oh, I didn't know people were listening, I wouldn't have said that kind of thing.
Right,
you know?
No, I get it.
And to me, it was just kind of like, it's so kind of played out to me. I mean,
the same thing happens in Frozen, right? They find out that he's like a bad guy that way.
How?
They find out that he's the bad guy because he's like, oh, she's dead, but she wasn't dead. And so then he's stuck in the prison at the end of the movie where they're like, boo.
No, not really. He says to her blatantly like, oh, if only you could find someone to love you.
Right, but at the end he's put away, and that one dude and the king, the one that the guy that dances like a chicken, that guy from that was one of his sons, right? In the movie?
Maybe you haven't watched Frozen in a long time.
No, okay. The guy that asks Elsa to dance in the very beginning.
Hans.
No. Who? Elsa. Oh. There's a king that asks her to dance.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, you know what? We need to keep this bargain between us right. And then he's the one that's egging Hans on. He's like, we need to make sure that this, deal stays whatever. And then they're both banished from the kingdom at the end.
I don't think so. It's more about Hans has 13 brothers.
Right, and he needs his own kingdom.
Because he would have to wait a long ass time before they all die before he got his own. Right. So he would just wanted to marry into royalty.
And that guy wanted him to be king because then they would continue their trade or whatever.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that actually.
And then that's why they're all like banished at the end or whatever.
But you know what I'm saying? Like the whole like, I was recording you the whole time.
Yeah, I know. It's a trope. It's a trope that's been around forever, dude. It's like anytime you see somebody confessing in any movie, it's like, oh, they're being recorded.
Yeah.
It's used all the time.
That's kind of what I was like.
It was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You knew it was gonna happen because like, how else is everybody gonna realize that Hector's the real like genius?
That was a detail that I wanted, to be a little more elaborate. I don't know, like. Just seemed to, those are the kind of things I had a problem with, and I understand that's not a big problem with it. Like
it's funny that you have a problem with it here, but in other movies, it's just like, sure, it's gonna happen.
Well, it depends on how they do it, is what I'm saying.
I guess, like I said, I think the theming of this movie hit a little too close for home for you, and that's fine because it hits everybody differently. Like I took those tropes, and I was like, dude, I love all of this. I love how colorful they're looking. They're making the Land of the Dead. I love how the skeletons look.
I wish they would
so rubbery yet so stiff at the same time.
I wish they would have done more with the skeletons.
Half of the movie is skeletons.
Yeah, but when I first saw like the trailers for the movie and stuff, I was like, man, it's just like these fucking kind of normal looking humans, and I don't really like that. Like Hector, for instance. Was cool because like his eyes came out of his head and they fell into his mouth sometimes, or like he was a lot more like what am I trying to say? Like he was like jangly. He was like a skeleton, and I was like, that's cool. And they could have done a lot more with that, like because his other family members, his other descendants or whatever, they looked super cool. They almost reminded me of like Grim Fandango, how they do a lot. So. They do a lot with just like the shape of their skulls, and like it's cool.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's the deal with, like, a lot of these Pixar movies, though, right? Is that, like, the humans are usually kind of, like, cookie-cutter and samey, and they don't really...
Well, no, they made it very apparent because, like... And they did a good job with when, like, for example, Coco is talking about the ofrenda, which is the altar that they place all their family's deceased pictures on for Day of the Dead. And they made those character profiles distinct because when you move over to their skeleton versions of them, they have to fill the same shape.
Yeah.
But without all the eyelashes and everything. So they have to make sure that those silhouettes are super strong.
Well, I that's what I'm talking about. I enjoyed that when they actually had them, like, he's like, oh, he starts naming them off, and he's like, you can tell who they are just by their skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's cool, and that's a great opportunity for you guys to like make character designs that aren't necessarily confined to skin, so to speak.
Right.
No pun intended, whatever, like...
I will agree with you that, like, his parents and his Theo and all that kind of stuff, the ones that were alive, those were very cookie cutter. You're right.
I couldn't even describe them to you, to be quite honest. Like
there was two that stood out to me. Because of the detail that they put in there. His Theo, one of his Theo that was alive, the one that like was like, what? And the shoe shot up into the ceiling. Okay. He was wearing a soccer jersey. Oh, okay. But it looked like a Mexico one, but it looked like a knockoff one, which is very like everybody in Mexico has one of those shirts with the two white stripes coming off the sides. Okay. So it's a soccer jersey. That one, and his grandmother, who was like this like. It was his
great grandmother.
No, his grandmother. Okay, the one that breaks breaks his guitar, or whatever. Her shape was very like it was almost like a little like tombstone. Her shape was very distinct from everybody else's.
Not Hector. What's his name? Ernesto. Mm-hmm. Ernesto's design was good.
Ernesto was.
I loved like how he had like a bigger upper body. He kind of looked like a beefy Mexican dude, but not like...
He is based on one of the most famous singers in Mexico, and it's like, I think his name is Vincente, I think his name was, because they had a lot of, like, if you know just like a surface level, if you have a certain surface level knowledge of any Mexican film, he is like the most famous musician / movie, so he's like Elvis. Movie dude. He's Elvis for Mexico. Same thing as, like, remember when, like, they're trying to get into his party? There's a guy in a silver mask. Yeah. Before that even went up, I was like, oh, that's Santos. Yeah. He's the famous Mexican wrestler who became also a TV star and a movie star. And all
Dwayne Johnson. If you will. But, yeah, and what I was trying to say, too, was that, like, not only is his design good, but it translates into a skeleton very well. Yes. So I was very pleased to see that. I actually like some of the designs of those fucking crazy neon animal things. Mm-hmm. I forget what they're called.
I think they're called cholos, which is like an XOXA or XAXO.
Well, I would have liked to see more of that flying cat thing. That it was his
spirit guide.
No, the woman's.
Oh, the jaguar.
The jaguar that was like hunting them. That thing looked really badass. I would have liked to see more of that.
I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. Yeah, and it didn't look menacing only when it was trying to capture him, but like it was totally at their kind of it was at their disposal. My favorite part was definitely the city in which they lived in. Yeah. Cuz it seems so it seems like there's a lot there. Like, for example, there's a section where it's like the town. Then there's people who are remembered so much more, and they have like mansions because people remember them even more because they're famous. Yeah. And then they even have the barrios where like there's nobody that remembers them, and they're going to be forgotten pretty soon. Yeah. And there's even that part of it. So there's an economy that exists on the other side, and there's like it felt like it was filled out.
If I were to say something good about this movie, it's like I like I'm getting older. There's kids around. What? I do enjoy when I can see a movie with like my niece and nephew, and it's like a wholesome tale that in some way will try to teach them something, even if it's like some kind of subliminal message, like, hey, remember people, or like people are gonna die, so just don't forget them, and be nice to them while they're here, or something like that. Right. I did enjoy that about the movie because it was I don't know. It tells me that the movie has a purpose outside of, like, poop jokes, or something like that. So I like that. I get that. It's not just a fun, romp in Mexico. It's also a what am I trying to say? Like a cautionary tale,
I think that's true about most Disney films. At least they try to do
that. They try to give you some sort of lesson, especially Inside Out. That was one of my favorites for a while. I say that, and I've only seen it once. I always do that.
I've seen it a lot because of the one thing about that film is the color theory is very strong.
Dude, without getting too off topic, Inside Out is amazing for a lot of reasons. One of which is, like, they wrote a movie without a fucking villain. Like, there's no villain in that movie. yet there's conflict. The conflict is internal because that movie is all about emotions. Right. So why wouldn't it be about people's like actual internal struggles?
Right.
Like that movie has many levels. I don't know. It's another. It's the same with that movie too. Is like originally when I saw the concept of it, I was like, this looks fucking stupid. This is like all the Pixar people look the same, you know. But then you get into their heads and it's like, oh, there's characters in here. There's actual character design. It's not just like.
By the way, I wouldn't say there definitely is no villain in that movie. But there is a antagonist in that movie.
Yeah, it's sadness to a certain extent.
And again, it plays into that same thing where she thinks that sadness is a problem, and that she can fix the world in a certain way, and then it turns out that what she thought was the bad guy is actually the good guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, that movie did make me tear up a lot, just because.
So like to bring it back now, this Coco movie made me very, very sad.
It didn't make me sad. And that was another complaint I had, was that like I was like, what's the song is sad, I guess, but
the song and maybe it's, and I'm gonna throw this in there. I know it's not like a thing, but like the fact that he sung that to his daughter and wasn't able to make it back to her. Mm-hmm. I mean, that hit me hard now because I have a son now.
Okay, all right.
And
I knew I was gonna come back.
I didn't want to throw this card into there, but like it's. You're, trying to. It's like you're at different stages of your life. Like our nephew right now is like he's the typical teenager. He's got the earphones hanging off the ear.
Yeah,
he's always listening to music, trying to rap.
Yeah, he's a rapper.
He's a rapper. And I'm at the stage of my life where I have a kid, and I'm like, dude, like he's gonna grow up. He's not gonna be this age anymore, and I miss like the time I'm not here. I'm missing parts about him, like. I'll leave him here with in the daycare, and then when you come back, you say, "Hey, he did this today," and he's like, "Look, he's growing up when you're not here to see it."
Yeah.
And in Coco, when he sings this song to Coco and he's talking to her, I'm like, "That's such a beautiful song," because in the movie, the Ernesto takes that song from Hector and makes it like he changes some of the lyrics, and makes it like for the world,
Right, yeah.
And then when they find out that he wrote, he's like, I didn't write it for the world. I wrote it for Coco. Mm-hmm. Right? And he actually like mailed her the letter and blah, blah, blah. It's just so personal.
I think, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to step on whatever you just said, but I was going to say that.
Whatever it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. It just doesn't hit me as hard, I guess. I don't even think I have to have a kid to understand that. I don't think it was... I don't feel like I built a relationship up with the characters as much. I don't know. But what I was going to say is, like, I think there's a lesson to be learned there, too, is that, like, even though Ernesto de la Cruz was a piece of shit,
right?
As many musicians are, secretly, behind doors, actors even, People.
Yeah.
What they leave, their work, can still inspire a lot of people to do great things. Because, like, Miguel, for instance... was inspired by Ernesto de la Cruz, and just because he learned that he was a piece of crap doesn't mean that he didn't get to learn a lot of guitar,
Sure.
or like, go on this journey to begin with.
Sure.
Because of all that. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I got from it because...
here's what I'll say, and here's what got me about this movie. It's like, everybody makes mistakes in their life, right? But some people, unfortunately, when they make their mistake... they're never able to fix it.
Okay.
And they're never given that opportunity again. And this story takes you on a journey of somebody who wanted to do that, and in the end was able to rectify his mistake.
Who?
Because Hector.
Okay.
He left to follow his dream. And then when Ernesto wanted to like leave them completely, he's like, "No, I made a mistake. I need to go home." Because like in the very beginning you find out that like the musician left home and never came back.
Yeah.
And he never came back because when he was trying to do the right thing and come home, he was murdered. So he never got to fix his issue. And then you find out in the movie that he just wanted to go home and sing to Coco one more time and tell her that he missed her. Mm-hmm. And the tragedy was that when she died, nobody was going to be left to remember Hector. So Hector would vanish, and then she would get there, and he would never see her again.
Right.
And that was the cruel... That's the part that made me sad. It was just like, not even in death could he actually say he was sorry and tell her he loved her. Mm-hmm. That's what hit me.
Sure. You know? Okay. No, I mean, I understood the movie. I just... it's like, I'm not a robot or anything. I don't know.
Sometimes I think you are. You're a robot.
You know what fucking makes me cry? You want to know what makes me cry?
When Ralph destroyed the cart.
Yes. Jesus Christ. I turned the movie off. We were watching it right now. I had to turn the movie off because I didn't want to cry in front of people.
God, that's not even the saddest part of the movie either.
It is sad.
It's not the saddest part of the movie.
It is to me. I love Wreck-It Ralph. I'm sorry. It's just a great movie.
I definitely loved Coco. It seems like it was okay for Steve.
Yeah. I did watch another movie. I could talk about this briefly because we're almost out of time. Ample time for this film, in my opinion. Oh, got him.
You might want to let them in on the secret.
Black Panther.
Right.
I saw the critically acclaimed, overhyped Black Panther. Man, this movie... let me just start off by saying it was overhyped. Extremely overhyped. Everyone was telling me like the movie broke records, which I know it did. It did. It's the highest grossing Marvel film, right? Mm-hmm. And I watched this movie and I was just like, man, was that the most generic Marvel movie I've ever seen in my life? Like, almost like Ant-Man, you know? Like I know you
Ant-Man.
I know you like Ant-Man. Okay?
I do like Ant-Man.
I actually think Ant-Man is better, and I have kind of a low opinion of Ant-Man.
You just hate Paul Rudd.
Yeah, no. It's not. It's just... Okay, so...
Let's not get off topic. Go back to Black Panther.
I'm not gonna spoil much other than Black Panther fights evil Black Panther. So It's like Iron Man 1. Iron Man fights evil Iron Man. Or...
Like Ant-Man. Ant-Man fights evil Ant-Man.
Yeah, exactly. So to me it was like, okay...
Thor fights evil Thor.
Does that happen?
I think in the second one. Because he fights his brother.
Well, it was just kind of like, I get it. I mean, they always have to do this, right? When I was saying earlier, like, you know, it's how they do the details or what differentiate them.
Right.
This one didn't have too much. You know, it didn't stray away from the norm too much, in my opinion. There was, like, I mean, I guess times where, like, it's like, okay, the girl gives the middle finger, and I always see gifs of that, and I'm like, okay, cool, I guess.
I didn't see gifs of that.
It's my main problem with it. Let me just get to the nitty gritty, okay?
Okay. The nit grit.
Black Panther is right. Black Panther at the beginning of the film. He's a good guy. At the end of the film, Black Panther is a good guy. Same shit.
Okay.
Not really too much of an arc. There's nothing to be learned. Like...
I could throw this argument back to you. It's like Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man is Spider-Man at the beginning and he's Spider-Man at the end.
Different, though. He gets his suit taken away.
Okay. And you're saying nothing like that happens in this?
Black Panther... Okay. I'm going to spoil the whole movie. Fuck it, okay? Black Panther starts. He's Black Panther. He's great. He's good. He gets crowned the king.
Right.
In the Black Panther world or whatever in Wakanda, if somebody challenges you... you have to get your power stripped away.
Okay.
And you have to fight them mano a mano, like regular, like regular people. Okay.
Like regular men.
Yeah. Somebody does that and beats him fair and square.
So he's not Black Panther anymore.
Right. He gets thrown off like a fucking waterfall.
Okay.
They find him, they heal him, and they give him the Black Panther suit again. Now he fights, new Black Panther King guy.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, you fucking lost. Like.
You lost fair and square.
Like, yeah, like, you can't do that. Like, okay, and in nowhere in there am I seeing, like, where's the change in his actual personality? He doesn't really grow as, like, a person like you would see in a normal movie, Like, Spider-Man at least is, like, he defeats Vulture without the fucking suit, Like,
right.
He uses his brains, and he has to, he's basically, like, scrounging up everything he can to beat this guy. And Black Panther's just like, all right, let's give you back the suit. We save one of those plants that gives you superpowers. Here you go. You're back in it. If it was like, okay, Black Panther gets thrown off the waterfall. He barely lived. Now he has to beat new Black Panther with the suit. And he's just still like naked and all messed up. Sure, that would have been great. but it's not the case in this movie.
They're
it's
getting
like
back the old Black Panther shit.
Yeah, and like I don't know. It's just I'm like, what am I supposed to feel for this movie? I don't feel anything. Like I don't feel like I have a relationship with the characters at all because they just I don't know. It just I didn't think it was good. I'm sorry. I thought it was okay. Special effects even to me were a little bit like they weren't very refined and they weren't very polished like the other Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Forrest Whitaker's in it. I'm like, this fucking guy, dude.
Saw Gerrera's in it?
No, remember in our Rogue One review, I told you when I saw Forrest Whitaker, I was like, this fucking guy, dude. Like I don't like him. Like, I just don't think he's a very good actor. Maybe that's just me, though. I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
I remember the first time I saw Forrest Whitaker, he was in a haunted house movie. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I want to say he does cheesy movies. Like he
does some cheesy movies, but like I remember liking him when he was in there because like the whole terror thing and his kind of personality really fit the role. And
it
I was
bothers me. I feel like he plays the same character in every movie. Maybe that's
I remember this movie because when I was at Blockbuster, there was a movie with him. He had a samurai sword and he had like a hood, and he was called Ghost Dog.
Okay. That sounds real serious.
I was just like, really? Forrest Whitaker?
Yeah, that
in Ghost Dog? I don't know.
I
don't know if it did well or not, but that picture of him like standing there with a samurai sword and a hood on, it says Ghost Dog. I was like, this looks ridiculous.
Okay, so just for me to wrap up this Black Panther conversation, the bad guy's named Killmonger.
Yeah.
Okay. Iron Man, right? The guy's named Ironmonger.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay. Well, it is. First of all.
You didn't say that with a lot of confidence. You were like, his name is Ironmonger.
Well, my point is like, the fucking only word you guys can think of is monger or whatever. Anyway,
they're not great at naming things, dude. It's like, what is his new like Thor's new hammer's called Stormbringer, and it's just like, yeah, I think that's what it's called.
It sounds badass.
Stormbringer. Yes, yes, Steve, that sounds badass. But Killmonger, no.
Well, okay, what I was gonna say.
What about Kilgrave? You like that one?
There's one L. It's just a name. That guy, he has like this regular kind of like armor suit on in the beginning of the film, and he has like army pants on.
Right.
And he looks cool. And I was really hoping he would just use that the whole film, but at the end,
on the suit.
Yeah, at the end he throws on a fully fucking like CG suit or whatever, and I'm like, well, he looked cool before. His fucking other suit had like really nice colors to it, and it looked really cool. It looked very well designed. You know, and I get it. Like it's pretty blatant, but at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, one Black Panther's purple and one's yellow, so they're like complementary colors. You know, fucking fighting each other. I get it. Whatever. I don't give a shit. I would have liked to see a lot more Wakanda too. I feel like you get to see like the lab, and that's about it. And then they're in South Korea for some reason. And I'm just like, I was told this movie takes place in Wakanda. So if you guys could just build that world for me so that I actually feel immersed in Wakanda, that would be great. You know, like, even like, if I were to take it a step further, it's like, what was their connection to Wakanda in Infinity War? It was just that they took Vision there to get healed or something.
Well, Bucky existed there too.
Did
they mention Bucky in?
Not in the movie. There's an after credit scene where they're just like, "Hey, Bucky," and he's like, "What's up?" and that's it. But
does he not have his arm?
No, he doesn't have his arm.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that thing.
It just seems like very loose ties. You know what I'm saying? Like I almost felt like, did they even need to make the Black Panther movie? Like I don't hate Black Panther. I just mean like, if you're gonna give him a fucking backstory, give him a real backstory. Don't give him like this really generic like cookie cutter. I've said cookie cutter a lot. Sorry.
It's very cookie cutter.
It's just this really kind of bland, mediocre film. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. You know, I just, to each their own. I told Ernie he could skip it. All right, he gets a pass on this one. You could skip that one. It's like.
And you said that about Thor 2: The Dark World.
I didn't watch the other Thors. I watched the first. Remember, we saw the first Thor in theaters.
I saw the first. We saw it in theaters.
Yeah, and we wanted to throw up. It was so stupid.
Although I did love that they included Hawkeye in that one. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of what this film is like. Black Panther is like, okay, there's like one tiny detail that connects it to the rest of the films, and that's why I'm supposed to watch this 2.5-hour film. Like, nah. Like, I don't want to. Like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna buy this shit on Blu-ray, dude. No, thank you.
I will say though that the Wakanda scene in Avengers, Age of Ultron, made me want to watch Black Panther because like I saw the world, I saw like the people fighting in Wakanda. I was like, dang, that's awesome looking. And you're only getting a taste of it because obviously it's not about them; it's about the war that's happening.
That's kind of what I thought too, because like even seeing Black Panther trailers, I was like, man, Wakanda looks awesome.
Yeah, and then seeing it in at the end of Civil War, I was just like, man, that looks so cool. I can't wait for the movie.
You know, it's kind of like when you watch a game trailer, right? I remember watching BioShock Infinite trailers and thinking, fuck, Columbia's huge. Right. It looks so great. I can't wait to explore Colombia.
And turns out,
and you get there and it's kind of like, okay, so that part from the trailer wasn't even in this game, or like,
yeah, I thought Colombia, not to get too off topic because we're gonna get off topic if we start talking about BioShock, but it was a huge difference because like BioShock and BioShock 2 were like, here's your hub world, now go to different sections of this hub world, and Infinite's kind of like, start A, go to B, B to C, C to D.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, it's one big linear path.
You can't really backtrack in that game.
You can, but there are parts where they're just, no, after this, you're done.
Yeah. And
the world changes around.
And that's the effect that Black Panther had on me. I saw the trailers and was like, wow, Wakanda looks great. I'm hearing great reviews. All these people are jacking off to it. I better go see it. And I'm just, all I gotta say is I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad I rented it because
Which, it's the same reason to bring it back to the other part, it was like when Coco came out, they're like, dude, you gotta see it. It's about Mexico. You gotta go see it. I was like, okay, all right, I'll see it. And it felt more like homework at that point. They're like, you gotta go see it because you're Mexican. I'm like, okay, we'll do. But finally, after like all this time, I finally see it. I'm like, this is a great film.
That's a good comparison actually, because Black Panther was definitely like, people were like, how did you see Infinity War if you didn't see Black Panther, dude? You gotta go do your homework before you check out Infinity War. And
see, and that's, I think that's the other reason I didn't watch Ragnarok, is because they were like, make sure you do your homework and watch Dark World, because you can't see Ragnarok without Dark World. And
that's not true.
Well, we don't know. We haven't seen it, so.
Well, it's summed up in the beginning of Ragnarok very cleverly.
I guess
very hilariously.
We already did Ragnarok, Steve. We're not going to go do it again.
I love Ragnarok.
I know.
But yeah, so I'm pretty through with talking about Black Panther. I hope I never have to mention it again. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was okay, and I don't really think that it warranted all that hype. You know what I'm saying? Like,
didn't live up to the hype.
Very mediocre movie.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I wouldn't recommend it. Would you recommend Coco, Ernie?
I would totally recommend Coco, and I think it lends itself to multiple views, just like Frozen does, because there's subtlety in the character design and all these different things that happen while they're in the land of the dead.
Maybe I'll watch it again. Okay, because I will say this before we wrap up here. When I went to go see Coco. They had like a 14-minute Frozen intro, which was I think it was called Olaf's Frozen Adventure or some stupid shit like that.
I saw that too.
Where did you see it?
They have it on the Pixar collection.
No, this was a different one. This one was unreleased.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
This was like 14 minutes.
And they thought, is this the movie?
Yeah. Which I was like, hey, I was like, I like Olaf. So I'm sorry.
They really banked on it too, because it's. I heard that thing's gonna they're doing something else with it, because at one point they removed it from the front part of Coco. They took it out.
But I was in there eating it up, and all the parents were like, "When's the fucking movie gonna start?" And I was like, "All right, you know what? You need to chill."
Why did you do that voice?
Yeah. I was like, "You need to chill with that language. First of all, we're in a kids movie." And then after that, they play this thing. You remember in the Pixar collection, they have like 3 people talking about the Pixar short that's about to happen.
Yeah.
They did that same shit with Coco. So they have those same 3 people, and they're talking about Coco, and I'm watching things that I'm about to watch in the movie but they're sitting there like, oh, I love this scene in Coco where
that
like
sucks.
Yeah, where like Ernesto dies, and I'm like, what the. I'm about to watch the fucking movie, dude. Like, what do you? Okay, it wasn't. I'm joking, obviously, but they were showing parts of the movie, and I was just like,
watch the movie.
Get to the fucking movie. Yeah, I was in there for like 4 hours. I was sitting in that fucking movie theater for like 4 hours.
I guess I saw it in better conditions.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like maybe my conditions were a bit like, I don't know. Maybe it was
jarred.
Better way for me to see it. Maybe I'll take another look at it. Who knows? But what was the other thing we talked about? Wreck-It Ralph 2, I think.
Wreck-It Ralph 2. Yeah, that's right. And Benedict Cumberbatch being a hero.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold my hands together and say, please be good.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Will it be stellar? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a lot there. But I'm happy to be proven wrong because I do like Penelope and Wreck-It Ralph. Vanellope. I like that world. Mm-hmm. Vanellope.
Von Schweetz. Yeah.
Von Schweetz.
Yeah. Sequels are hard. I get it. Sequels are hard. Not a lot of people do it right. You get
Captain America did it right.
Yeah, it's like Captain America, Godfather. Those are the two, but those are the only two.
Terminator.
Oh yeah, Terminator. Holy shit.
There's good examples.
Yeah,
there's good examples.
But yeah, that is it for this week, guys. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.